In the earlier part, we have seen the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka and Belgium. What would happen in the Belgium if the Dutch major community would try to dominate on the minors French? This would push the conflict among communities further. The conflict may increase more. This could lead to a very messy partition of the country. Both the sides would claim control over Brussels. Brussels capital may controlled or claimed by the both. So the conflict will never end. In Sri Lanka, the Sinhala community enjoyed an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country. Because in Sri Lanka, Sinhalas were in a number more and they could impose their wills on the entire country, and this may crush the very spirit of the democracy equality. The Sinhalas tried to impose their wills. This is called majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. This majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, how it worked, we will see. Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. This country got independence after India 1948. The leaders of Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. The leaders of the Sinhala community tried to dominance on the minorities. As a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. What is majoritarian? Majoritarian means the belief to the majority community should be able to rule a country in a whichever way it wants, by disregarding the wishes of needs of the minorities. As the majority group will be take decision according to they want without concerning the other minors' wills wishes. In 1956, to do it one, what actions were taken by this government? In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. The passed act in 1956. This act was recognizing the Sinhala is only the official language. Thus, this was disregarding Tamil. The government followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university position and government jobs. Government adopted that policies where only Sinhalas were get preference. A new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. Buddhism is a majority religion in this country, so state should work in the way to foster the Buddhism only. All these government measures coming one after other gradually increased the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. The measures which were taken by the Sinhala government to secure the majority made the feelings of alienation in the Sri Lankan Tamils. Alienation, separation are ignored. They felt that none of the major political parties led by the Buddhist Sinhala leaders was sensitive to their language and culture. These people were feeling there is no one political party who is sensitive about the language and culture of the Sri Lankan Tamils. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights. The Sri Lankan Tamil were feeling somewhere the government is denying the political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities and ignored their interest. Because in a jobs, the Sinhalas were preferred. That is why these people were feeling, the Sri Lankan Tamils were feeling, we are denied. We are not getting same opportunities in the jobs and our interests are ignored. As a result, the relations between the Sinhala and Tamil communities strained over time. Due to it, one, the relation in between Sinhalas and the Tamils strained of the suppression in the Sri Lankan Tamils reacted in a different way. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggled for the recognition of Tamil as an official language. These people started to ask or started to struggle to make the Tamil as an official language for regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. These people want to secure their opportunities and education, but their demand for more autonomy to province populated by the Tamils was repeatedly denied. These their demands were repeatedly denied by the Sinhalas. By 1980s, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil elam. So many organizations formed here. Now they were asking the separate state, independent state, that is the Tamil elam. In northern and eastern parts of the Sri Lanka, where dominance of these people in that region, these people were started to demand a separate state because their interests were again and again denied and crushed by the Sinhalas, the majorities. The distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. The conflict uh, were more in these two communities. It soon turned into a civil war. Civil war means the war inside the country. It is not fighting with the foreign enemy. The enemies are inside the countries only. The war in between two communities of the country. The civil war last year we have studied when Russian Revolution were studying. As a result, thousands of people of both the communities have been killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as a refugee and many more lost their livelihood. Whether the war is fought inside the country or outside the country, it makes results and it resulted in this country also. Thousands of people killed by the both communities. Many families were forced to leave the countries. They became refugees. Many lost their livelihood. Sri Lanka's excellent record of economic development, education and health, but the civil war has caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country and it is ended in 2009. The civil war made bad setback in this country. The earlier phase of the country changed. It changed the social, economical and cultural all fronts damaged of the country due to the civil war, due to the establishing majoritarian in the country. The dealing with the problem is a failed in this country. If one community tried to establish their majority, it going to crush the minority and minorities somewhere going to raise their voice and it is turning to the damage of the country. We have seen in the earlier part the Sri Lankan leaders took the path of majoritarian. But in what happened in Belgium, we will see in this pattern, in this part, power sharing by accommodation in the Belgium. How they accommodated this problem, we will see. The Belgian leaders took a different path. They recognized the existence of regional differences and cultural diversities. The Belgian leaders accepted the diversity and the differences. Between 1970 and 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times to make improvement, to not follow the conflict in the country. These people amended the constitution 4 times only in the 1970 to 1993. Only in a 23 years they amended the constitution 4 times. Amended their constitution because they want to enable everyone to live together within the same country, whether he belongs from French language, whether he belongs from Dutch or German. He or she should feel secure to live in the country. The arrangement they worked out is different from any other country. They brought the solution very differently, very innovative. We'll see how. Constitution prescribes that the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in the central government. At the union government, the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers will be same. Some special laws required to support of majority of members from each linguistic group. Thus, no single community can make decisions unilaterally. They made the arrangement to take the decision to the majority, to take the support of the minorities. So no one community should take itself any decision. This was the first step taken by the Belgian government. Next, many powers of the central government have been given to state government. The whole power should not rest in one hand. That is why they given many powers to the state governments of the two regions of the country. The state governments are not subordinate to the central government. The state government itself made independent, it is not subordinate to the central government. Next, Brussels has a separate government because the problem of Brussels was a separate, different. So different part here brought. Brussels has a separate government in which both the communities have equal representation. Dutch and French both will get equal representation. The French-speaking people accepted equal representation in Brussels because the Dutch-speaking community has accepted equal representation in the central government. Both accepted the equal representation of the Dutch in the Brussels and French in the central government. So this solved the problem of the country. Apart from that, again very different part they brought here, very different action they took here. Apart from the central and the state government, two kind of governments were there, central and the state, and for Brussels also separate. There is a third kind of government. This is the community government. The community government is elected by people belonging to one language community. This is the one different kind of government. The representative is elected by a particular community like Dutch, French or German. No matter where they live, wherever in a country they will elect their community government. This government has the power regarding culture, educational and language related issue. The cultural government is a different, the community government is a different. This government was having power to look at the issues of cultural, educational and language. So the religious or the cultural clashes solved through this one. You might find the Belgian model very complicated. Maybe you are thinking this is very complicated, but it indeed is a very complicated, even for people living in a Belgium. But these arrangements have worked well so far. They helped to avoid civic strifes. Civil wars were avoided through it between the two major communities and a possible division of the country on a linguistic lines when many countries of Europe came together To form the European Union, Brussels was chosen as its headquarters. Means you will get idea. If European Union choosing the Brussels as its headquarters means the peace is having in the Belgium. In this way, the both countries faced their problems, but one lost their property, one lost their face, that is the Sri Lanka, and another is the Belgium. They came out, they overcome on the problems which were